He walked into her classroom on the first day of high school, and he already knew exactly who she was. She had no idea. Her name was Uka Ishimori, and for 3 years of middle school, she had been called Stone. Not because she was cruel, not because she was cold, because every single time a group of girls came for her, and they came for her every single day, her face went completely blank. She had trained herself, through months of daily humiliation, to feel everything on the inside and show absolutely nothing on the outside. Zero reaction, a face like a wall, and her classmates named her for exactly what they saw. What nobody in that school knew, not the bullies, not her teachers, not Uka herself, was that the most popular boy in their year had been watching her since the day he stopped on a street in middle school and said 5 words that changed the direction of her life. And that the reason he stopped was a secret he had never told anyone. Honey Lemon Soda is the 2021 Japanese live-action movie based on the manga by Mayu Murata, starring Raul and Ai Yoshikawa, and it is one of the most emotionally precise high school romance films ever made. If you have been looking for the full story explained, or you watched it on Netflix and need to understand what was actually happening underneath the surface, this video covers everything. The full plot, Kai's secret, the confession, all of it. Let's get into it. To understand why this Japanese romance movie works, why 13 million copies of the Honey Lemon Soda manga have been sold, and why the live-action film grossed over 1 billion yen at the box office, you have to understand what Uka Ishimori had already survived before this story begins. 3 years. The same group of girls. Every single day. They had a method. The clicking. The circling. The nickname delivered loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Stony. They called her Stony because her face went blank when they came for her, and they found that blankness more satisfying to attack than tears would have been. Everyone around them kept walking. Nobody stopped. Until the day they came for her on a public street, and a boy with lemon-colored hair did not keep walking. Kai Miura, played by Raul from Snowman, stopped directly in front of her. He was holding a cold bottle of honey lemon soda. He looked at her, really looked at her, the way that nobody who had treated her as a target had ever bothered to do. And then he said something devastatingly simple. He told her she should apply to Hachimitsu High School. He said it like it was obvious, like she was clearly the kind of person who deserved somewhere better than where she currently was. Like starting over was not just possible, but available to her, right now, today, if she made the decision. Then he walked away. Uka stood on that street for a long time. She had forgotten that a stranger could look directly at her without finding something to diminish. She applied to Hachimitsu High School. Here is what she did not know yet. Kai had never forgotten her either. He had recognized her the second she walked into his classroom. He just chose not to say so. Not yet. Because first, she needed to know the secret. On her first day at Hachimitsu, and if you have watched any Japanese high school romance movie, you know that the first day is everything. Uka Ishimori stood outside her classroom practicing how to say good morning. Not as a joke, as a genuine, desperate rehearsal. 3 years of social erasure had done something lasting to her relationship with ordinary language. Even the simplest exchange felt like an obstacle she could fail. Saying good morning to a room full of strangers felt, to Uka, approximately as achievable as jumping off a building. She was whispering it to herself. Good morning, good morning, good morning, when Kai appeared. He caught her practicing, and instead of laughing at her, which everything 3 years of middle school had taught her was the inevitable response, he walked her into the classroom and told her, in the most matter-of-fact voice possible, to say it. Now, to all of them. She did it, barely audible, shaking, but she said it, and the room responded. Because Kai Miura had just told 30 people, without using a single explicit word, that this girl was worth paying attention to. He was not being kind in the abstract sense. He was not performing generosity for the room. He had watched a specific girl on a specific street survive something quietly terrible, and he had calculated, with the practical intelligence that defines everything he does, that the first step out of the thing holding her back was to force her to take it. He was not managing her. He was backing her. There is a difference. And Uka felt that difference immediately, even though she could not have named it yet. Within days of starting at her new school, Uka had something she had not had in 3 years. A lunch table. People who texted her. A best friend. Warm, cheerful Ayumi, who attached herself to Uka with the energy of someone who had been saving that spot for exactly this person. She knew why it was happening. She was accepted not because of anything she had done yet, but because of who was standing next to her. Kai's social gravity was that strong, and she could feel the mechanism of it even while she was benefiting from it. It made her feel, in her quietest moments, like she was being carried rather than walking. She was right about that feeling, and she was also wrong about it, both at exactly the same time. And then the bullies found her. Of course they did. They always find you. They do not stop because you change schools. They stop when something makes them stop. They came to Hachimitsu. They did what they always did, the clicking, the circling, the nickname. Stony said it in her new school in front of her new classmates. Waited for the face to go blank. And Kai appeared, with the quiet reliability of someone who had been paying closer attention than anyone realized. He told them, in a voice that was very low and very certain, that if anyone gave Uka trouble from that point forward, they would answer to him. Directly. Not as a threat, as a fact. They left. Uka texted him afterward. Just, thank you. He replied immediately. Anytime. Just text me. She read those 4 words approximately 40 times that night. This is the section of the honey lemon soda story that most movie recaps skip past. But it is the most important thing to understand about why this romance works when so many others do not. Something is happening between them that neither of them has put a name to yet. Kai is falling in love with Uka Ishimori. Not with the shy girl who practiced good morning in a corridor. Not with the project or the person he felt responsible for. With the specific, particular person she actually was. The one who memorized the trail map before anyone else thought to. The one who ran into the rain when her classmates needed her. The one who carried a bag full of supplies for people who had not yet learned to need her. The one who kept trying, even when everything in her history told her that trying was dangerous. He had been paying attention to that person since the street in middle school. Every time he watched her reach towards something that frightened her, the feeling got clearer. He just could not say it yet. Not until she knew the secret. And here is what the movie does beautifully. In the sections between the major plot turns, it shows you Kai's feeling not through speeches or declarations, but through behavior. He appears when she needs him. She texts and he comes. He notices when something is wrong before she says a word. He asks her questions and actually listens to the answers. He remembers small details. He finds excuses to be nearby that are not quite excuses anymore. He has been in love with her for longer than she realizes. And longer than he has admitted to himself. Now we get to the scene that viewers of this Japanese romance movie talk about more than any other. More than the confession. More than the kiss. The hiking trip. This is the scene that changes the dynamic, and the moment where the movie shows us, for the first time, who Uka Ishimori actually is when she is not afraid. The class gets lost on the trail. Rain comes in fast. Students panic quietly. The way people panic when they realize the adults around them are also panicking and trying not to show it. Uka reaches into her bag. She had packed for every possible emergency. Towels, drinks, first aid supplies, snacks for the whole group. Because 3 years of being on the outside had made her extraordinarily aware of what other people needed and extraordinarily reluctant to ask for anything herself. She had also, quietly, and without mentioning it to anyone, studied the trail map before the trip. She finds the route. She tells everyone where to go, and then she runs ahead in the rain to confirm it. Because Uka Ishimori, when she is not inside her own fear, is a remarkably competent, prepared, clear-headed person. Kai runs after her through the rain. He catches up, and without planning it or announcing it, he puts his arms around her and holds on. The first real embrace in the film. She is so startled she pushes him off. He lets her go without a word. No explanation. No apology. He just steps back and lets her breathe. But on the bus ride back, this is the scene. This is the one. He leans his head on her shoulder and falls asleep. Just like that. No announcement. No asking permission. Like it is the most natural thing in the world. Like she is a place he has always been allowed to rest. And Uka Ishimori, who has spent 3 years learning that being touched means being targeted, who has trained herself to take up as little space as possible, who has never once in this film let herself be fully comfortable in her own skin, does not move, not a millimeter, for the entire journey. Not because she is frozen, not because she is afraid of him, because she has decided, in this specific moment, that this feeling is more important than anything she might need to do with her shoulder for the next 40 minutes. She will sit in any position, at any angle, for as long as it takes. Because something is happening that has never happened to her before, and she is not going to be the one who ends it. The camera holds on her face. And Ai Yoshikawa does something in this moment that most performers cannot. She shows you the exact second that Uka stops waiting for it to go wrong. High voltage, that is the whole love story. In one shot. On a bus. Everything that comes after, the confession, the kiss, The reconciliation is just confirmation of what was already decided in that moment. On the way home from a hiking trail in the rain, her classmates revise who they thought she was. Not because she asked them to, because she ran into the rain when they needed her, and the bag had been there full of exactly the right things. The quiet girl who used to practice good morning in a whisper was someone they had entirely misjudged. By the midpoint of this shoujo live-action film, Uka and Kai have become something neither of them has fully named yet. They are not together, but they are not together. They occupy each other's orbit constantly. He appears when she needs him. She knows his habits. The lemon soda, always cold. The shift in his energy when he is carrying something he has not said out loud. And then Surina arrives. Beautiful. Outgoing. Everything that Uka in her worst moments believes she will never be. And she carries the worst possible piece of attached information. She and Kai have a history. A real one. From middle school. The mystery of what happened between them. Why they ended. What it meant. What it means now that Surina has reappeared. Lands in Yuka's chest like a stone of a different kind. She looks at Surina and understands. With the specific painful clarity of someone who has always assumed the worst about their own value. That she cannot compete. She does not run. She does not disappear. But she retreats inward. Not from the situation, but from her own feelings about it. Filing them somewhere deep and quiet where they cannot cause damage. The old survival mechanism. The blank face and the careful silence. What she does not know yet. What makes this story more interesting than a standard rival arc is that Surina is not here to take Kai back. She is someone carrying her own history. A history that intersects with Kai's in a way that will, when Uka finally understands it, reorder everything she thought she knew about the boy with the lemon-colored hair. This is the moment the title of this video promised. Kai's secret. And if you have been watching this Japanese movie explain video and wondering why he really stopped on that street, here is the full answer. Kai's entire outward identity, the effortless cool, the lemon gold hair, the social gravity that shifted the temperature of every room he entered, was a construction. A deliberate one. In middle school, his hair was black. He was not the person the students at Hachimitsu saw. He had built that version of himself specifically and intentionally during the gap between middle school and high school. Why? Because something had happened. Someone he cared about had been diminished, bullied, made invisible, pushed out, and he had not been able to stop it. He had been there. He had seen it. And he had not acted. He had walked past. And he had never stopped paying for that in the currency of his own conscience. The lemon soda. The hair. The presence that commanded every room he walked into. None of it was accidental. All of it was armor. All of it was the answer to one question he had asked himself after that day. Who do I have to become to make sure I never walk past again? And Uka, when he stopped for her on that street, it was not random kindness. It was the direct consequence of the one time he had not stopped. He had recognized her specific situation, her specific kind of invisible suffering from the inside. Because he had been the person who had seen something like it and done nothing. They were not opposites. They were two people who had arrived at the same damage from different directions. She had learned to disappear. He had learned to be impossible to ignore. Both of them built around a wound. Here is the part of this Japanese romance movie that frustrated a lot of viewers, and the part that, when you understand what is actually happening, is the most important scene in the whole film. The temporary separation. Kai pulls back. Not because his feelings have changed. Because his secret is still between them, and he cannot let her be fully inside something that she does not have all the information about. He is protecting her, in the specific misguided way of someone who has decided that the person they love deserves better than what they currently are. Uka, who has spent 3 years interpreting distance as rejection, reads his withdrawal as exactly that. Her old instincts activate immediately. She goes quiet. She goes careful. She goes stone. Except she does not. Not entirely. Not anymore. Because something has changed in Uka Ishimori over the months since she walked into Hachimitsu High School and said good morning to a room full of strangers. She is not the girl who absorbed everything and showed nothing. She is someone who has learned, slowly, imperfectly, at enormous personal cost, that she is allowed to want things. And to say so, she goes after him, not in a sweeping dramatic gesture, but completely, all the way through. There are 2 running scenes in this film. Reviewers mention both. The movie commits to them with full sincerity, and the production knows exactly what its audience came for. She goes after him because she has something to say, and she has decided that saying it matters more than protecting herself from the possibility of rejection. This is the moment the movie has been building to since the street in middle school. Not the confession, not the kiss. The decision to move towards someone even though moving has always gotten her hurt. This is the scene that people search for after watching the Honey Lemon Soda live-action movie. The confrontation, where both characters finally say the thing the entire story has been building toward. Uka tells Kai that she knows something is wrong, and she is not going anywhere. That whatever he has been carrying, whatever the secret is, does not change what she knows about who he is. That she has been watching him since the street in middle school, and she has seen, without him having to explain it, everything that matters. And Kai, who has spent the entire film expressing care through action rather than through words, finally uses words. He tells her what happened. The real story. The reason the hair is gold instead of black. The reason he cannot walk past someone being diminished without doing something. The reason he stopped on a street in middle school for a crying girl that everyone else had walked past. He had not been able to stop for someone else, once. And he had never forgiven himself. He had been carrying that, quietly, alone. The way that people carry things when they have decided that sharing them would only burden the people they love. Uka listens. She does not flinch. She does not minimize it or rush to make him feel better. She sits with it, the way she has learned, through 3 years of having her own pain dismissed, to sit with things that are heavy and real. And then she tells him it was not his fault. And he believes her, because she is the one person who could not possibly be saying it just to make him feel better. Because she knows what it costs to carry something alone. And because she is, of all the people in his life, the one who has never once said something she did not mean. The confession. The moment that everyone watching this Japanese romance movie has been waiting for. And the way Honey Lemon Soda handles it is the reason this film stays with people longer than most. Quietly, in ordinary light, without the grand gesture, Uka tells Kai she likes him. She says it the way she has learned to say the things that matter. Not perfectly, not without her voice shaking, not without the part of her that spent 3 years being told she was not worth choosing trying to take over at the last second. But completely, all the way through. Kai looks at her for a moment, and then he closes the distance. The first kiss in this film is not slow motion. It is not sweeping and cinematic and produced for maximum impact. It is two people who have been circling each other for the entire movie finally standing still long enough to let the thing that was already true become visible. And after, this is the detail the movie gets exactly right. Kai does not make a speech. He does not perform the emotion for the audience. He simply asks her if she will keep saying good morning to him. Every day? She says yes. That is the whole confession. The whole reconciliation. For words. And a yes. It is, in context, the most romantic thing in the film. So what happens at the end of Honey Lemon Soda? What does Uka Ishimori's story actually resolve into? Not the romance. That is already settled. Something more important than that. The answer is that you have to care about both. Because the romance is not the destination. The romance is the evidence that the destination has been reached. Uka wears her hair up. Every day? This is a small thing, and it is not a small thing. For 3 years, she wore it down. A curtain between herself and a world that had taught her that being visible was dangerous. Every morning, now she puts it up. Every morning, she makes the same small, deliberate choice to be seen. She organizes her class's contribution to the school festival. She stands in front of her classmates and tells them her idea and does not apologize for having one. She runs toward the things that frighten her, still afraid, still shaking slightly, but moving. She has a best friend, a boyfriend, a lunch table and inside jokes and a reason, every single morning, to say good morning to the people she passes in the corridors. Not because she practiced it in a whisper, because she genuinely wants to. The girl who walked into Hachimitsu unable to say 2 words to a room full of strangers is not the person standing in this school a year later. She is not a different person. She is the same person, finally uncovered, finally inhabiting herself completely. That is the story this movie is actually telling. The romance is real and it is earned. But it is not the point. The point is Uka Ishimori, who decided, slowly, imperfectly, with the help of a boy who stopped on a street when everyone else kept walking, that she was worth the effort of becoming. If you have been looking for an honest Honey Lemon Soda review before deciding whether to watch, here is the truth. This 2021 shoujo live-action film was dismissed by some critics as typical, fast pacing, predictable beats, a breakup that felt forced. Those criticisms are not entirely wrong. The film compresses a 30-volume manga into 1 hour 51 minutes, and the seams are occasionally visible. But here is what those reviews consistently missed. Ai Yoshikawa's performance as Uka Ishimori is remarkable. Not flashy remarkable. Quietly, precisely remarkable. The way that great performances in this genre always are. She tracks Yuka's internal state across the entire film with a specificity that does not require dialogue to communicate. You can see exactly where Uka is emotionally in any given scene, not from what she says, but from the specific quality of her stillness. The exact angle of her posture. The millisecond before her expression changes. That is not easy. That is exactly the kind of performance that gets overlooked in favor of the more demonstrative work around it. The movie grossed over 1 billion yen at the Japanese box office. It was voted #1 in the Model Press favorite live-action movie ranking. 13 million copies of the source manga have been sold. The 2025 anime adaptation was nominated for Best Romance at the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. And if you want to know how the anime version tells this same story differently, that breakdown is coming next on this channel. This story has connected with that many people for a reason. That reason is Uka, the specific, universal experience of being someone who spent years being told they did not matter, and who found out, slowly and with enormous effort, that they were wrong. There is a version of that story inside almost every person watching this. That is why they keep coming back to it. In manga, in live action, in anime, in comment sections where people who have never met each other type the same thing. This one got me. Honey Lemon Soda was released in Japan on July 9, 2021 by Shochiku. Directed by Koji Shintoku. Starring Raul as Kai Miura and Ai Yoshikawa as Uka Ishimori. The theme song Hello Hello was performed by Snowman. It is currently available on Netflix. If you have watched this movie, tell me in the comments which scene stayed with you longest. For me, it is the bus ride back from the hiking trip. The way she sits completely still. The way he does not move either. Two people pretending not to notice something they both already know. I want to read yours. Drop it below. Now, if you are still here at the end of this video, I want to tell you something about this channel. Drama Uncovered is not a recap channel. I am not reading you a plot summary. What I am doing, what I want to do every single week, is find the thing underneath the story. The reason a manga about a shy girl and a boy with lemon-colored hair has sold 13 million copies. The reason people who watched this film 3 years ago still remember exactly where they were sitting. These stories connect because they are about something real. Being invisible. Deciding to try anyway. Someone stopping when everyone else kept walking. If that is the kind of breakdown you want every week, subscribe. Every video on this channel is built the same way. Full story. Full feeling. Nothing missed. Hit the bell so you get it the moment it goes up. And the 2025 anime version of Honey Lemon Soda. The one that had time to breathe in the places the movie had to compress. The one that was nominated for Best Romance at the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. That breakdown is almost finished. Comment yes below. I will know you want it first.